Welcome to week 4 of the Wellculator challenge. Now the question is, do you eat a balanced breakfast within 2 hours of waking on most days? Now this is also a double-sided question, so let's take a look at the timing. The question says that you should be eating breakfast, a balanced breakfast, within 2 hours of waking. Why 2 hours of waking? Well, once we've gone to bed the night before, we generally don't eat for 8, 10, 12 hours until we wake up in the morning. So it's almost like we're breaking a fast, hence breakfast, breaking a fast. Now, when you wake up in the morning and you get going, your metabolism or your inner engine starts to work and rev and it starts using up fuel. That fuel comes from your blood glucose or your blood sugar levels, which will slowly start to drop. And I find from personal experience that if you wait longer than about 2 hours, your blood sugar or your blood glucose would have dropped significantly, which means it will impact the way that you feel, not only physically, but emotionally and mentally too. So you're more likely to then crave something that's going to give you instant energy, you're more likely to overeat, and you just send your blood sugar levels on a bit of a roller coaster ride. So ideally, unless you're getting up and you're going to go and exercise, which after exercise, if you do exercise in the morning, try and eat within about half an hour of stopping the exercise. But if you get up at say 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., you can't only be thinking about breakfast at 10 a.m. By then your blood sugar's dropped, you're probably craving something sweet, you're probably craving another cup of coffee, and you're just going to end up making bad choices and your day won't get started off on the right footing or with a competitive edge. So now, what is a balanced breakfast? Because ideally I don't want you waking up and within 2 hours having, I don't know, a donut. Now, a balanced breakfast would not be a biscuit or a cup of coffee in each hand. It would, though, be made up of 2 things. The first thing is ideally a balanced breakfast should provide some fiber. And we get fiber from, well, the best place to get fiber from would be fresh fruit. I always try and let fruit feature in my breakfast. By including fruit, you not only get fiber, you also get in some natural sugars. And I find that it's the days that I don't eat enough natural sugars like fresh fruit when I crave sweet things. And when I have a craving, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to reach for an apple. I'm going to want a piece of chocolate or something sweet. So ideally have some fiber coming from fresh fruit. If you can't do fresh fruit, you could do dried fruit. Or you could do fiber from a high-fiber cereal like oats or a low-fat muesli, or perhaps a high-fiber bread like low GI, seed bread, or rye bread. Then the second component to add to that fiber is protein. Why? Because protein takes longer to digest than carbohydrates or starch or fruit. And so it'll help to stabilize your blood sugar so that you don't get hungry faster. So you can have your breakfast and wait 3 or 4 hours or perhaps have a small snack and not be so famished way before lunchtime. Now, protein you would find in eggs, fish, cold meat, cheese, dairy products. So combining the fiber like fresh fruit or dried fruit or a high fiber cereal with some protein or some dairy is a really good combination. But I was fortunate enough to be interviewed by Stacey Holland on Sunrise ETV where the theme was breakfast, and I got to put together some funky ideas. Why not take a look at some of the ideas and think about how maybe you can incorporate 1 or 2 of them into your morning routine. And remember that if you're incorporating breakfast in the morning, it doesn't have to be a whole sunny side up breakfast experience. It can literally be something that takes you 2 minutes. I often have a smoothie for breakfast, which literally takes me 2 minutes to prepare. So I grab a banana, an apple, a little bit of peanut butter, some milk, some ice. I whip that in the blender. That takes 1 minute. I then pour the smoothie into a water bottle, which I then take with me in the car. So I have the smoothie on the way to my first meeting or first client, and then I rinse the blender under hot water. So within 2 minutes, I've got a smoothie good to go and a clean blender. You can really do this. I'm actually going to go through how to make some smoothies in under 2 minutes in the next video as well. And you might be thinking, okay, Celine, I get it. I understand that breakfast is important, but I'm not hungry and I don't have time. Well, in terms of time, literally, breakfast can take you 2 minutes. You can also save time by eating breakfast in the car when you're on your way to your first meeting or to the office, by keeping things like biltong nuts and dried fruit or fresh fruit in the car. And if you're not hungry, what I find happens is if you've never eaten breakfast, say the last couple of years, you just haven't woken up and had breakfast, your body is not going to wake up and say, hey, I'm hungry. So start off with something really, really small, even if it is just a tablespoon of yogurt, or maybe a small glass of fruit juice diluted with water, or maybe just a baby smoothie, or just a handful of nuts. You might have to force that small something down, but I promise you that within, I would say, a week or 2 weeks at the most, your body is going to start to realize, hey, when I wake up, I'm getting some kind of fuel, and it will start expecting that, and you'll find that your appetite will increase. And it's a good thing if breakfast makes you hungry. I know some people say, oh, you know what, Celine, the moment I start eating breakfast, I can't stop eating the rest of the day. Now, if you eat the wrong breakfast, it will trigger that sense of just wanting to always eat. If you eat a balanced breakfast, so some fiber and some protein, it'll kickstart your metabolism, sure, but it's not going to put you into that mode of completely wanting to eat everything that's in sight. And kickstarting your metabolism is a really good thing because it helps you to burn extra energy and just set you up for the rest of the day. But take a look at some of the breakfast ideas, and then I'll see you just after that with the call to action.
Thank you, Stacey. Another quick breakfast idea are some fruity cinnamon and apple oats, and you don't even need a microwave to make this. What you do is, for one person, you would take 5 tablespoons of oats. Oats are really high in soluble fiber, so very good for your heart. They also keep you fuller for longer. About a tablespoon of sunflower seeds or nuts like these almonds. Then you grate a whole apple, and then we mix that in. And then just to zing it up a bit, we're going to add a sprinkling of cinnamon. If you want to, 1 or 2 drops of vanilla essence. And then you can either use some boiling water or about half a glass of milk. The longer you leave these fruity oats to stand, the more the oats will soften. If you really don't have time in the morning, you can make these the night before, leave them in the fridge, and you'll have a Bircher type muesli in the morning.
Sustained Energy has been penned by Celine Erasmus as well as Gabby Steenkamp, and Celine joins us in studio today. She's been whipping up some fantastic meals for us. So good morning, and I can officially chat to you. You've calmed down a little bit. What are we making this morning?
Now what I wanted to do was make a filled pepino, because often we grab apples and bananas and then we don't enjoy fruit because we don't have variety, and this is a fruit that may be a bit difficult to eat on the run, but not if you do it like this.
Okay.
So what I'd like to do is grab some low GI muesli. Low GI means it's slower releasing. So it's going to keep you fuller for longer. And then
that's glycemic index. So.
That's right. It helps to control your blood sugar levels. I'm impressed, Stacey. Then we're going to top that with some yogurt. Vanilla usually works well. Yeah. And then we're going to sprinkle a few pecan nuts on top. It's good to add in some healthy fats.
Okay. Yeah, that's a misconception that many people have, that there are good and bad fats as well.
Yes, and nuts and seeds are a source of good fats.
All right.
And there we go. If you don't have the time to sit and eat this, you could actually whip all of these ingredients up in a blender and make a smoothie.
Make a smoothie out of that, or you could put it in your lunchbox and then get to the office and eat it. What are you going to be making there?
I'm going to make us some fruity cottage cheese. It's a nice protein-based breakfast.
I never used to like cottage cheese. I hope this can change that, in fact.
It can, and by adding little ingredients like dried fruit can really jazz up a meal.
Now, cottage cheese is high in protein as well. Are there any people that should avoid certain foods? Like, for example, if you're gluten or wheat intolerant, or does your book cover different types of allergies as well?
Our book is not focused on that. It's more for general people.
Okay.
But if you do have, for instance, a lactose intolerance, you can always replace the dairy options with an alternative.
Soya options.
Yes.
Okay. So this, you're going to add some dried fruit to the cottage cheese. Doesn't it clash with the taste, or does it complement the taste?
It actually tastes amazing. And if my husband says so, then trust me, it does.
And what do you think people should change this year for 2012? I mean, those bad eating habits, what should they do? I mean, your top 5 tips, for example.
I would say one of the top things to do would be to make sure that you eat light and eat often. A lot of us tend to go for hours without eating, and then what happens is we pay the price in the evenings when we don't eat all that energy. I'm just going to add some sultanas here, and a little bit of sunflower seeds or almonds, and then some chopped apricots. I would also say to drink enough water. A lot of people that I come across are dehydrated.
Yeah.
Then they have headaches and they feel tired. And
Apparently, if you feel thirsty, you're already about 20% dehydrated.
Exactly. So you should try and drink enough water throughout the day and not just energy drinks, cold drink, fruit juice, or tea and coffee.
Okay. So when you're putting the cottage cheese in the bowl, what's the portion size that we're looking at?
It's about 6 tablespoons. For a lady, the guys, if you feel like you need a little bit more, you could perhaps have 8 tablespoons. I'm just going to mix that together.
Yeah.
Some sultanas or raisins, dried apricots,
Can I
nuts
taste
or
that?
seeds. Absolutely. Then this you can top onto a slice of rye bread or some
So the
crackers.
proof is in the tasting. Oh wow.
The combination of the sweet and the tangy, savory cottage cheese works
It's actually
very well.
really good. And I'm eating with food in my mouth, something that we teach our kids not to do.
So you've now seen loads of ideas of different breakfasts. You know that it's the most important way to start your day. So what is your call to action? Well, I'd like you to really think about how you can make this happen. And sometimes making things happen means that we need to plan a bit. So ideally have breakfast within 2 hours of waking. This might mean having a couple of breakfast ideas in your desk drawer at the office, or maybe in your car, or really right by the front door ready for you to grab as you dash out. Then ensure that your breakfast is balanced. We don't want you to start off your day on rocket fuel because that's not going to sustain your energy levels. Try and make sure that your breakfast contains some fresh fruit because that's going to give you fiber and some protein as well. If you look at some of the grab and go options in the picture, you can see there a handful of nuts and a low-fat dairy-based drink, for instance, is a quick breakfast. Maybe some dried fruit like mango strips with a few pieces of cheese. There you've got your fruit and your protein. Then in the top right-hand corner, you've got a handful of biltong, which is your protein, a small health bar, and a few Turkish apricots. So there you've got your fruit and your starch coming in. Then I'd really like you to try make a smoothie. Even if you have made smoothies, if you're like me and you're a regular smoothie maker, sometimes we fall into a rut and we keep making the same smoothies using the same ingredients. Why not take a look at some of the recipe ideas on my blog and try some new things? Add in a different type of nut or a new protein powder, or just experiment with fruit that you haven't tried. Remember to take a look at the download summarized worksheet. There might be some really funky tips there that you hadn't thought about that could make your life a lot easier or could help you to make this one habit the one lifestyle new behavior that you create. On that note, I hope that you have a fabulous breakfast tomorrow morning.